There's something strange that happens every year. The first cool breeze arrives. The air smells different. Leaves begin to change color. Suddenly, people who spent months complaining about the heat seem to come alive again. They smile more. They go outside more. They decorate their homes. They light candles. They wear sweaters they haven't touched in months. To someone else, it might seem like they're simply excited about a different season. But sometimes, it's much deeper than that. Your favorite season isn't just a weather preference. It can reflect the emotional environments where your nervous system feels safest. It can reveal how your brain seeks comfort, meaning, and restoration after months of constant stimulation. That doesn't mean every person who loves fall shares the same personality. Human beings are far too complex for that. But psychology has found that the environments we naturally gravitate toward often mirror the emotional states we unconsciously crave. And fall has a way of offering something modern life rarely does. Permission to slow down. Summer is often associated with movement, vacations, crowds, social events, loud music, long days filled with expectations to be active, outgoing, and constantly making memories. For some people, that's energizing. For others, it's exhausting. If you've always felt strangely relieved when summer ends, it may not be because you dislike sunshine. It may be because your mind has finally escaped months of overstimulation. Our brains are constantly filtering sounds, faces, temperatures, conversations, notifications, and decisions. The more stimulation we receive, the harder our nervous system has to work to maintain balance. Fall naturally reduces much of that pressure. The weather softens. The pace of life often becomes more predictable. People spend more evenings indoors. Conversations become quieter. Even nature itself seems to lower the volume. For someone whose brain constantly scans the environment, that shift can feel less like a season and more like finally taking a deep breath. This is especially true for highly sensitive people. Sensitivity isn't weakness. It's simply a nervous system that processes information more deeply. Research suggests that some individuals notice subtle emotional cues, changes in atmosphere, and sensory details that others barely register. While this can create remarkable empathy and creativity, it also means prolonged stimulation becomes mentally expensive. Fall offers an environment that asks less from the senses. Softer light, cooler temperatures, gentler colors, less pressure to always be outside. Without realizing it, many people experience these changes as emotional safety rather than simple comfort. That's one reason autumn feels so peaceful. But there's another psychological layer that runs even deeper. Fall constantly reminds us that change doesn't always mean loss. Every tree lets go of its leaves, yet no one believes the tree is dying forever. We understand that letting go is part of the cycle. Ironically, many people struggle to apply that same wisdom to their own lives. When relationships end, careers change, friendships drift apart, or identities evolve, we often interpret those experiences as permanent failures. Nature quietly tells a different story. Nothing grows by holding on to every leaf. People who feel emotionally connected to autumn sometimes resonate with this symbolism because they're naturally reflective. They spend more time thinking about meaning than appearances. They often revisit old memories, not to stay trapped inside them, but to understand how those experiences shaped who they've become. Reflection isn't always comfortable. It requires slowing down long enough to hear thoughts we've been avoiding. Summer rarely encourages that. Its energy constantly points outward. Fall gently turns our attention inward. That's why many people suddenly feel inspired to journal, read, reorganize their lives, or set new goals once autumn arrives. It's almost like receiving permission to pause before moving forward. Another fascinating pattern involves nostalgia. For many adults, autumn carries powerful emotional memories. The beginning of a school year, buying new notebooks, walking beneath colorful trees, family traditions, holiday anticipation. These experiences become deeply connected to the brain's emotional memory system. Years later, a single smell of fallen leaves or the sound of rain against a window can instantly reactivate feelings of comfort, curiosity, or hope. Psychologists sometimes describe this as associative memory. The brain doesn't simply remember facts. It remembers emotions attached to environments. That's why two people can stand beneath the same autumn tree and feel completely different emotions, depending on their personal history. The season itself isn't creating happiness. It's unlocking memories that were already waiting. There's another reason some people never get tired of fall. It creates psychological permission to be imperfect. Summer often carries invisible expectations. Wear the perfect clothes, look your best, travel somewhere exciting, spend every weekend doing something unforgettable. Those expectations can quietly become exhausting. Fall asks much less. Stay home, read a book, take a walk, drink something warm, call someone you miss, notice the rain. None of these activities compete for attention. Instead, they invite presence, and presence is one of the strongest predictors of emotional well-being. When your attention stops racing toward the next experience, your mind finally has enough space to appreciate the one you're already living. This slower rhythm also explains why many creative people feel unusually productive during autumn. Creativity rarely appears when the mind is overwhelmed. It grows when there's enough silence for ideas to connect. The quieter landscapes, shorter days, and calmer routines naturally create more opportunities for that process. It's no coincidence that many writers, artists, and thinkers describe autumn as their most inspiring season. The external world becomes quieter. Their internal world becomes louder. Of course, loving fall doesn't automatically mean someone is introverted, reflective, or emotionally sensitive. Plenty of outgoing people adore autumn simply because they enjoy the weather. Psychology isn't about putting people into boxes. It's about recognizing patterns that help us understand ourselves a little better. Maybe your love of fall isn't really about pumpkins or colorful leaves. Maybe it's because your nervous system has finally found an environment that matches its natural rhythm. Maybe it's because cooler mornings remind you that slowing down isn't laziness. Maybe it's because watching nature let go makes it easier to release something you've been carrying for far too long. Or maybe autumn simply reminds you that beauty doesn't always arrive during the brightest moments. Sometimes it appears just before everything changes. The next time someone asks why you love fall so much, you probably won't answer with psychology. You'll probably smile and say, "I just like the feeling." And that feeling is real, because long before your conscious mind finds the words, your brain has already recognized something familiar. A quieter world, a slower pace, a season that asks you to stop performing and simply exist. Sometimes that's exactly what we've been searching for all along. If this perspective changed the way you think about your favorite season, let me know in the comments. Does autumn make you feel more like yourself, or is there another season that feels like home? And if you enjoy exploring the hidden psychology behind everyday experiences, don't forget to subscribe. There are many more conversations waiting for us.